My background is for a long time I've been involved as a community activist and also then setting up a community resource centre, happened to be in Brighton, also working with the WEA. We created a course on transport, which was very much about influencing. But what all of that experience really taught me is that there are political skills which you can learn, and actually it's not that difficult, but you need to take some time over it. And there is, understanding how the system works. Very often people are campaigning very ineffectively. A lot of the images of campaigning is like demonstration. And normally when you got to a stage of demonstration, you're almost always lost, because the campaign has been won within the system. The most effective campaigners, you never hear about them, because actually on the committees making the decisions before they actually come out to the public. So we've developed we do some training around campaigning, and I'll just pass around some of the materials that you're welcome to have, and some campaign tactics, I think. But much more importantly, and I can put this out as well, just some of the information from the different things, but much more importantly is to recognise that there are loads of people like the WEA, like Speak Out, and it's really great to hear about Speak Out, because making the system accessible to people who are multiply excluded is brilliantly important, because you can't have a democracy if people don't know how the system works and don't know how to make their voice effectively. And it's interesting, if you look at the party conference programs, it's packed full of lobbyists, the think tanks, all of those people. They will be clustering around the power centres and influencing before we even have a chance to have a look at it. So, one of the things is we've been raising this issue. Last year we had a series of road shows, and I've got a few of these, possibly not enough here, but on building capacity for campaigning. As I passed a few around, and then to follow that up, we've brought people together with in an alliance called Democracy Matters, and the WA and many of the people here are members of that, to make the case to the politicians that campaigning is okay, and that actually for a democratic society people need to have the tools and skills to have a say. And what's encouraging is that the politicians are becoming more open to it, and what we want to do to make the case is say, look, it's as important as literacy. So about 40 years ago, there were about 5,000 adult literacy students in the country. And now, anywhere you go, you can go and learn adult literacy. Any college, any community centre, and it's free. That was a result of campaigning. What I think we need to look towards is that in 10 years' time, it's the same with practical political education. That anybody who wants to learn how the system works, who's got a campaign institute, can go and get help and support, clarifying their aims, who's got the power, who's got the influence. So that's in a way the vision of Democracy Matters, and as part of that vision is to encourage people at a local level to form democracy hubs, to get together and saying how can we work together so that the Youth Parliament, the Speak Out, the grassroots community activists, the WA are sharing and supporting and reaching out so that more people can have access to this sort of stuff.
Can you just tell us a little bit more about democracy hubs, Titus? I know we've talked about it.
This was a recommendation from the Power Inquiry, Helena Kennedy, who's a very interesting campaigner herself. She campaigned, first of all, for adult education and wrote a white paper for the government, which the previous government paid no attention to. And then she convened this inquiry on democracy called the Power Inquiry, which had people from all the parties. And one of their recommendations was for democracy hubs. And I just thought this was a brilliant idea. And they don't really exist anymore, but except an embryo, because you've got like York City Council's got its democratic services. There is the WEA and the Take Part. There are things like the Speak Up, and there's lots of different people, youth councils, but they don't join up together, and they don't have a visibility to the public, so that people get lost in the maze. So as we move towards a time when finances are shrinking, there'll be less to go around. It's even more important for people to work together to support people to have an effective voice. And I think it's particularly important for the public authorities not to be afraid of that, to actually to recognise that if people know how they go around the system, they improve decision making. It may be uncomfortable, you know, people will be challenging decisions, but actually at the end of the day, if you think about, for example, the tower blocks, all the high-rise tower blocks which we're now pulling down, you know, communities campaigned against them, said we don't want these high-rises. If they'd heard, we'd be saving money now. So, and the idea of Democracy Hub is say, let those people who got those responsibilities work together and saying, how can we signpost it so that if anybody wants to have a say, they can find support faster. I mean, I think the idea we should think about schools as being part of the building blocks of a democratic constitution, so that people learn how to participate through class councils, school councils, parent councils or assembly. People learn all of those democratic skills. You don't really learn them in theory, you learn them by doing them.